I'm sorry, but
I don't know it either.
Yeah, I was just admit. So, so anyway, welcome. Hi, everybody. I am so excited to see you and to meet you here online and to offer some tips and some activities that I've kind of gathered for this webinar. And I want to encourage you as much as possible to chat in the chat box, even during my webinar. That is totally fine. And if you go off on some other topic, or, if you start sharing ideas, or if I'm a big, multitasker, even in, my online meetings with my boss. I love to chat with my colleagues at the same time, even when my boss is talking. So please do not hesitate to, here's the chat box, so you can see it. Don't hesitate to use it. And also, if you have any questions to ask me during the session today, or any comments, feel free to just fire them off in the chat box, and I'll see if I can answer them during the webinar. I'll see if I can manage to do that. And I really want to make sure I address some of your questions, and I want to try to maybe leave some time afterwards, even to answer some of your questions or concerns you may have about how logistically some of the activities I'll talk about today could fit into your classroom ecosystem. So let's get started. I am going to be multitasking, so I'm looking at the chat box here. And I am I'm here, and I'm representing my wonderful school, Télécom Paris, here in it's Paris, but it's actually in Paris, so it's a suburb of Paris. And I'm very, very fortunate to teach engineering students. So these are students who are higher education. They are they're future digital technology experts. They are adorable. They're very, very sweet. They love being treated like guinea pigs, and I'm in an environment where I can pilot and test new material and new ideas very, very easily. And I consider myself extremely lucky. I also have a lot of support from my colleagues and from my boss. And I'm very, very fortunate, and I feel extremely fortunate to be working at Télécom Paris. You are all more than welcome if I've been teaching online. We're going to be going through that in just a moment. We'll be seeing that in just a second. But I've got an extra special treat for all of you at the end, extra special invitation for all of you. And I see that, yes, thank you so much for putting in the chat box, that Wednesday the 19th at 8:30, from 8:30 to 9:30, you've got an incredible webinar coming up by one of my best friends and dearest colleagues, Sinead Namour, who literally her office is next door to mine, and you will not be disappointed. She is absolutely outstanding, and please put that on your calendar, and please try to get to that webinar if you can. She's an amazing, wonderful human being. So let's get started. Okay, now we're going to talk about engagement. And engagement, tried and tested engagement activities for the classroom. And engagement is a word that to be very, very honest with you, I kind of heard about it, but yeah, I kind of heard about it at IATEFL conferences. I have been to various conferences and talks and webinars, and I had heard about it, but I actually didn't really understand exactly what it meant. What's the definition of it? And I kind of stumbled upon this a webinar delivered by Zoltan Dörnyei in 2018. Now, Zoltan Dörnyei, if you may know him, he's an expert in student agency and engagement. he's a brilliant speaker. I saw him at IATEFL Hungary. I was very lucky, like really lucky to get to see him at IATEFL Hungary back in 2018. And God, what an amazing speaker. And I was just like, and wow. And so when I was watching his presentation online, his 2018 presentation, there was a phrase that he said, which really, really resonated with me, which was student engagement is often hailed as the core of education, of the education enterprise. I love that he dared use the word enterprise and education in the same sentence. I love that because I'm a big business English geek. And I love incorporating business English into my classrooms. I'm a BESIG, IATEFL BESIG member and former treasurer of IATEFL BESIG. I know that one of your IATEFL Poland speakers that you get a lot. He's one of the coordinators of IATEFL BESIG. So I like to incorporate business concepts into my classrooms. And so this phrase really, really resonated with me. But I was like, engagement, what does it actually mean? And Zoltan goes on in his presentation. This is a direct, I'm lifting this directly from Zoltan's presentation. And I think there are two key facts that he picked that he wanted to highlight in his presentation, which I thought was like, wow. So student enthusiasm wanes, it decreases, around as high school graduation approaches. And that's a major challenge that I had not brought into my mindset as I prepared classes for my higher education students, that I'm receiving students who from high school have been experiencing this waning, this decrease in their enthusiasm. And that's a harsh reality. And this is a Gallup poll that is coming from the United States and Canada. But to be very honest and very frank with you, I feel that if the research were conducted in France, I think we would probably find the same, I'm making a huge assumption here, but I think we would probably find the same phenomenon where at 10 years old, the student enthusiasm is 74%. And at 18 years old, it just tanks. It's like 34%. And I see this in my students. I see this when they arrive. And it kind of like, God, what do we do about this? Moreover, he also quoted a Gallup poll of almost 2,000 public school principals in the United States. And 60% of these principals believe that high school graduates are inadequately prepared for the success in the workplace. That too, very, very much resonated with me because I'm sometimes a broken record with some of my colleagues. I'm like, we got to prepare our students for the workplace. We've got to prepare ourselves for the workplace. I've said it over and over and over again that I feel that higher education, universities, engineering schools sometimes lack in really preparing the students for the workplace. And I really try very, very, very hard to keep an eye on what's going on in the workplace, in the private sector and in the public sectors. And I really try hard to make sure that I'm giving my students the communication skills in English that they need for the jobs that they're gonna hopefully get as soon as they graduate. But there's the big question. What does it mean? What does engagement actually mean? So over to you. What I'm going to do is there are 18 of you. No, actually, there's like 18. I'm going to do the math. There's me. So there's 16 of you in the room right now. And those of you who are in the room right now, you can use the chat box. And in the chat box, I'm going to take a risk. Go and type in the chat box, what does engagement mean to you? What does this word mean? Do not worry. Don't Google it. Please. Don't worry. Believe it or not, it doesn't seem to be there's a right or wrong answer. So what does it mean to you? How does this word resonate to you? So I'm going to wait a moment and see if you can type some suggestions in the chat box. And if I don't get any suggestions, don't worry. It's going to be sometimes like my classes where my students are like, let's see, doing your best with knowledge, personal characteristics, taking interest in what's going on. And I'm just going to read these very quickly because I know we're recording. Taking interest in what's going on in the classroom, enthusiasm, brilliant. Being interested, yes. Willingness to take part in something, absolutely, I agree. Let's see, and doing your best with the knowledge, skills, personal characteristics, yeah, absolutely. And you know what? All of that is right. Asking questions, yes. Involvement, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That according to the research that I did, and I'll tell you, I actually bought a book about engagement. Actively reacting to teachers' suggestions, participation, bingo. You're all absolutely right. And I actually got this book. I stumbled upon it on LinkedIn when I was just browsing through LinkedIn. And I saw that Sarah Mercer, who's an absolutely brilliant speaker, along with Zoltan, published this book in 2020. So when I saw that some of my two favorite experts had published a book together, I was like, ooh, cool. I'm going to geek out on engagement. And I got this book. And so it's very, very cool. And I wanted to see how they defined it, because to a certain extent, the school where I work at Télécom Paris, I mean, we are asking this question all the time. How can we engage our students more? How can we, especially international students, how can we engage them? And so based on Sarah Mercer and Zoltan, based on their definition of engagement, this is what they've come up with. And they say that, well, surprise, it means different things to different people. That's one source that they cited, Barclay from 2010. I mean, it goes way back. In behavioral participation in the classroom, well, someone in the chat box talked about participation. Well, bingo, Skinner 2008, exactly. And now Mercer and Dörnyei, they mentioned in 2020, they say that it is always associated with action and combined with a cognitive and effective involvement. Okay, so there's true involvement. So they've refined the definition quite a bit. And that's the definition that they use and they base their entire book on. And trust me, I totally support that. At the same time, I kind of put a bit more pressure on myself, because that's kind of what I do. When I'm thinking about engagement and the activities that I design, and we're about to come to those, my personal feeling is my ideal engagement-based activity is an activity which is clearly linked to the learner's academic or professional context, or it's an activity and it's an activity where the learners that aids the learners in their future professional context, and it has a positive and long-lasting effect. This is my kind of asterisk, so to speak, on the definition of engagement. You can accept this if you want, you can reject it, you can, totally agree, you can debate it. I totally welcome your feedback on this, but this is how I feel every single time I'm designing a new activity or choosing an activity that somebody else wrote for me, or a course book activity. This is the thought process that I go through whenever I'm choosing an activity for my students. And so I'm going to give you an example of of a course that I teach. I'm going to give you 3 activities that you yourself can literally use on Monday. I'm a big fan of IATEFL Poland. The reason I'm a big fan of IATEFL Poland is because teachers are sponges for fun and interesting material, and they are great at sharing different activities for the classroom. And every single time I have attended an IATEFL Poland conference, it has been, I've gone home with just like tons of ideas. And so congratulations to IATEFL Poland on that. And and it's just like, so I'm here doing what I would love to do in person, but I'm doing it online for you. So the professional communication course that I teach has been 100% online since March 26, 2020, for reasons we know. And there's a different dynamic, of course, but I've been very, very pleased with the dynamic that we've been able to establish online. So let me just run through very, very quickly on the course objectives. This is just in case, this is for those of you who may want to do a screenshot, or don't worry, we're going to share the slides with you. If you yourself are organizing a course on professional communication, this is what I throw into my program. And some of these things may surprise you. Trust me, it surprises some of my colleagues. So, and I've taught this course, like I said, but I've taught this course, professional communication, for about 2 years, almost 2-3 years now, but online since 2020. So my big thing is making a good first impression, spoken and written. So that's emails, brainstorming in groups or alone, because not everybody is equal in that area. Communication styles. I dip into Chia Swanchong's book a lot for this course. Chia's brilliant in international communication. Her book is fantastic. Again, I highly recommend it. And in terms of communication styles, I dip in her book a ton for this course. Management styles, mental illnesses, I do go there. I really do. I go there because I think my students need to be able to address these issues, learning disabilities as well, because in the workplace, they will be exposed to people like this. And then maybe they themselves are experiencing a mental illness based on the experience they've had in the last year. And so we need to help each other and to work together to cope with those issues. International communication theory, again, with a lot of help from Chia. Losing face in the perception of individuals, giving feedback, big time, and conflict management. So in one semester. Take a breath. So exercise, or rather task, or here comes activity number 1. Here we go. We've got 40 minutes to get through these. We'll make it happen. So here's the activity number 1. Here's example number 1 that I'm going to give you. It's called media interviews. This is an idea that I designed this year, even this semester, and I'm currently piloting this idea with my students. Next week, my students have their media interviews, and I'm just like, is it gonna work? I really hope so. But I'm pretty excited, and I will provide you with a recipe for conducting these media interviews. It's not just throwing everybody into a room or a Zoom room and telling them to interview each other. No. It's a 4-phase process. It's extremely dense, and it goes across the entire semester, and it's wonderful. And the students, we see growth across the board in many different skills. It's almost entirely student-led. I give them clear set phrases for persuasion and for influencing. That's where the linguist, the language expert comes into mind, and I do sort of force feed them phrases for persuasion. I'll get into that in just a second. Public speaking skills. I'm a big fan of public speaking skills. These media interviews also foster a lot of learner autonomy because there's a lot of work that they have to do behind the scenes. And as always, I've incorporated a new idea, which is after big activities like these, I offer a post-meeting coaching session afterwards to kind of sit down with the students and say, okay, did that work? How did you feel about that? How did, what did you get from it? And I also asked them the question of, what would you change? How would you change the activity if you were me? How would you refine it, fine tune it? I asked them to take my responsibility in improving it for the students in the next semester. So there's all of that. Now the media interviews, let me see. This is very basic. This is a very, 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 very simplified version of what I make my students do. But trust me on this, there's a lot of back work, a lot of work throughout the semester that is required leading up to the interviews. And I promise you, I will give you the recipe for that after this webinar. But essentially, students create video pitches for innovative initiatives, research, or school projects. So here again, we've got an example where they are engaged because they are directly linked to the school context or the work environment context. So that checks one of my boxes there. Everyone watches the videos. They have to watch the videos of each other, and that is their homework. And then they have to go online onto a Google Doc. I'm about to show that to you. And they have to put together interview questions for themselves. They have to post interview questions on a Google Doc that they would ask if they were a journalist. And then in a class session online currently, and even if it were, if we were in a normal context, I would do this in a classroom setting, but on an online context, it still works. Students then conduct a panel discussion or one-to-one media interviews with each other. There's a journalist that's pitted against an expert, and they have to use persuasion language. Let me just show you what that persuasion language looks like, okay? And I force them to use this language. I really do. I really, really force them to use this language. I developed this, this handout myself. You will get it too. It is wonderful political type language where you get language like, it's a good talking point, or I feel your pain, or let me be clear, or make no mistake, or all options are on the table. Who have we heard use phrases like that before? Barack Obama, Pete Buttigieg, who was a presidential candidate in the past, the good ones. We're not going to mention the other guy, but good presidents, good communicators, good presidential bleh, how ironic, good political communicators who I have observed use these phrases, and I think they're very, very effective. It's crunch time, it's decision day, it's in the pipeline. These are idiomatic expressions that my students are just like, they're begging me for. And so I'm like, okay, fine, let's do it. It's in the works. It won't be easy, but it's the right thing to do. We're all in this together. At the end of the day, God, you've heard that all the time. You know, I don't intend to give a running commentary, and my students are grateful to have these phrases in their pockets during the media interviews, because then they can respond to tough questions from the journalists, and the journalists are tough. They're like, "Rrr." So I wanted to show you an example of a video pitch that one of my students, Gabriel, submitted that blew us away. So I don't want to give you a sense of the fact that all my students do this, okay? But check this out. Gabriel really took this seriously. He stood on his student residence balcony at sunset, dressed up, to pitch his idea. And I want to share it with you today because I'm so proud of Gabriel. So this is the video that he wanted to share, or he shared with the rest of the classroom. So I'm going to stop sharing there, and I'm going to go to here we go. I'm going to go here, and it is 2 minutes long. So I'm going to show it to you. Maybe we'll see. I might go for a minute or so. We'll see.
How many photos and videos do you watch every day? Between street ads, Netflix series, Instagram posts, or YouTube podcasts, your daily life is filled with images that are captured and then edited just to please you. But what about reversing the process by editing photos yourself? Well, let me introduce you to a simple yet powerful tool we developed here to help you perform the oldest photographic trick. In painting, or the art of making certain elements of an image disappear. Even more powerful, what you have to do is define the area you want to replace in the image, and the algorithm will do it for you. I'm here to convince you that our in-painting tool is the thing you are missing to give your photos the look you want.
I love that. I don't know about you. Just a quick thumbs up if you could, if the sound was okay, or thumbs down. I mean, I don't know, we can do that on Zoom. I hope the sound was okay. But I have to say, Gabriel totally blew us away this past week when we were all watching the media interviews offline, asynchronously, and I was so proud of him. So I wanted to share that as a special treat with you. And it's kind of because that's kind of what I had in mind when I designed this activity, because I'm hoping, but not all of your students are going to do that, okay? And not all of my students do that either, let's be honest. But I'm certainly going to use Gabriel's example to put a little bit of pressure on students next semester. Most definitely. I'm going to post his video on the LMS that we have on the learning management system and say, hey guys, can you do better than Gabriel? Go for it. And if you want the link for Gabriel, it's in the slides. So it's absolutely brilliant. And once again, Gabriel is a digital technology student. So he's obviously speaking about a digital technology tool. He's pitching a digital technology tool. This is engaging because it directly links to his current school environment, but also his future professional career. He's going to have to do this. He's going to have to pitch to administrators. He's going to have to pitch to business angels in the future. And I'm so proud of him. I'm like, I can't wait to see what becomes of Gabriel, because I have no doubt that he's going to be successful. So here let's see, I'll go back to sharing my slides just to show you what the media interviews can look like online. I'm not going to show you a sequence of it because, to be very honest with you, I don't have one yet. I'll have one next week. So if you want to actually come and watch the media interviews, you'd be more than welcome. I've given you the schedule for my classes at the end of this presentation. So all of you are more than welcome to come and attend my media interviews and watch my students torture each other online in panel discussions. But look at how I love what they do with their backgrounds. They really take it seriously. And this is actually part of the class, professional communication. I tell them to take their backgrounds seriously, to take their lighting seriously, to take their Zoom shot seriously. I'm very, very picky about that because online meetings and online just communication is kind of a permanent feature now of our lives. And it's going to be up to us to incorporate those skills into our classrooms for the benefit of our students. Okay, that's number one. Number two, by the way, do you have any questions so far? If you do, about the first media interview, please don't hesitate to send them in the chat box and I will try to answer them. Like I said, there's a lot of other work that goes on behind the scenes for these media interviews, and I will give you the step-by-step way of how to set those up. Example number 2. Mock meetings. Now, those of you who may have seen a talk that I gave ages ago for IATEFL Poland, one of the cool innovations, like super cool innovations at an IATEFL Poland conference is 2 things. It's the live lessons that you guys do for other teachers. Like, God, that is like so cool and so scary at the same time. I'm like, I really am so impressed. And the other thing that you do at IATEFL Poland at your conferences is you do live examples of activities, role plays, for instance, with each other, and all the other teachers. So we do like simulations of activities, and like you've got the room full of the participants, the delegates, and then you can invite teachers to do the activities in front of their colleagues. That is just, it's nuts. It's wonderful. It's such a great idea. And I did a mock meeting with an IATEFL Poland audience. God, it was fun. It was crazy. Oh my God, it was insane. So I wanted to share with you another one. I'm going to share with you another mock meeting sequence that I designed recently for my students for their higher education context. This mock meeting that I'm going to show you is 100% led by students. So they lead the meeting. Okay, they start it, they manage it, they end it, and I'm silent during the entire time. It's one that's appropriate for higher education contexts. Maybe not high school, but I have done this mock meeting with adults as well for business classrooms, so it actually does work. Once again, I offer phrases for participation in conflict management. Okay, I offer these phrases because I feel very, very strongly. Oh, hi.
I need a charger, please.
You need a charger? Sorry, I can't help you. Bye. Bye. Sorry. Bye. Okay. Oh, see ya. It's my daughter, Charlotte. She just comes and goes as she pleases. But anyway, the phrases, I insist on that. Because look, if we're gonna ask our students to engage, okay, in the classroom environment, then honestly, we need to be giving them the language to do that. And so many of my students are extremely shy coming into the higher education context. Once again, like I mentioned, their level of motivation for English is pretty low. And they've had some pretty difficult classroom environments to get through in high school, not so nice ones. And so they're not feeling like, the most participatory. And so if I give them the language that they need to agree, disagree, interrupt, manage conflict, then they feel like they can take ownership of the sequence, and they can take ownership of their future professional context in English. Now, public speaking skills, duh, of course, because I'm just addicted to that. It's teamwork, preparation, advance. And once again, there's always a post-meeting coaching feedback session at the end. Now, here is the agreeing and disagreeing lists that I give them. Don't worry if you don't need to keep screenshot. I'm gonna share this with you. This is not my list. This is a list that I found on the internet. I just haven't found the source. I'll try to find it before. I'll try to find it and make sure I cite the reference correctly. But love these phrases, and my students do too. And to be honest with you, if I had learned these phrases before I came to France, my God, I would have been in much better shape. Meaning if I hadn't learned these phrases in French, okay, before I came to France, I would have been in much, much better shape professionally. But I'm having to struggle to learn them now, and to use them. But trust me, my students love these phrases. They use them all the time. Now, here's the sequence, and I designed this myself after an incident, a true incident that happened on campus with one of our students. One of our students, this was a while ago, this was a good 5-6 years ago. We had a student who went off to their annual ski weekend, and the little idiot, went off slope, and he got lost. And there was a tiny little avalanche. He didn't get killed, okay, but he was like, seriously, he was not smart. Thanks, Charlotte. So he got stuck. He got stuck in a cabin, and he had to stay overnight in a cabin, and he had his red jacket that he used to flag the helicopters that saved him. This is one of our students. Whoops. Like, huh? Seriously? And oh my God, it was just like this big crisis. And I designed a kind of role play for my students based on this incident. But I decided, of course, I'm going to change the name of the school, and I have a little bit of more fun and kind of embellish things a little bit. And so I embellished it. So instead of having a ski instructor who's just a normal French ski instructor, I incorporated Bode Miller, who's a real person, who's an Olympic medalist. The student, Blaise Ramsey the fourth, that's not his real name, student union president, hopeful, Trump University, just so delicious to use Trump University as an example. Pat Down, if you can get the bad pun, is the Trump University public relations director. There's Joe Ramsey III, which is very typical of American parents. There's a third, there's a fourth, there's a fifth, there's a sixth. And Joe Ramsey can be either Blaise's mother or father, depending on who gets the role. And of course, there is Herdeur. You can change the name. For those of you who speak French, Herdeur is a pain in the ass. So I decided to give that person the name Herdeur. And he's a journalist and he's attending this meeting. And I'm going to show this example to you, and I'm going to give you the link. My students have given me permission to give you the link. And here it is. It's in the slides that you will get. This is what it looks like. And I evaluate the students based on a point system on which phrases they use. Are they on time? Do they use the phrase, "Can you hear me?" With the correct pronunciation? They use the phrase, "Thank you for inviting me here today." They present themselves. They have to agree with somebody at least once. They have to disagree with somebody at least once. They have to interrupt somebody at least once. They have to settle an argument at least once. They have to say, "Could you say that again?" at least once. They have to say, "Are you saying..." They have to ask a question. They have to say, "Oh, that's a good question. Thank you for asking." They have to say that. They have to say, "Does that answer your question?" And they all have to say, "Calm down," and one at a time. They have to mediate this meeting together autonomously with the expressions I give them. Do they have, very often people ask me, do they have to memorize these expressions? No. In the past, I used to do that, but that's way too much. That's too difficult for the students, I think, to make them memorize everything. So especially on Zoom, you can't make them memorize. You can't prevent them from cheating. So I said, go for it. You can use the list during the meeting. I'm going to quickly show you very, very, very quickly the beginning of this meeting, which you all have access to. Let's see, Firefox, here we go. The ski weekend. I'll just show you how it starts. It's absolutely lovely. I'm so proud of them. Louisa, why don't you get us started?
Okay, so hi everyone, and
Hi.
I'd like to thank you for inviting me here today, Bethany, and letting me do this meeting with everyone here. So my name is Pat Down, and I'm the Director of Public Relations at the Trump University, and my role is principally to manage the creation of messages and marketing messages and marketing events to promote the university and to positively raise the image of our university, our partners, and of course our students. So I'd like to know every one of you, how are you first, and what you guys are doing.
Yeah, so my name is Ramsey III, and I'm Blaise Ramsey IV's father. And today I'm here to show that he's not faulty, and I am the director of the Teachers Association. In addition, that's it for me.
Hi, I'm Blaise Ramsey IV. Like my father said, I am a student of Trump University, and I had an incident, a very big incident, and then I'm here to explain my responsibility and to tell the true story to everyone.
Okay.
Well, I'm Bob Miller. I'm the world champion ski guy, and I was in charge. I was teaching how to ski to Blaise, and I'd like to give my version of the facts today.
I love this part.
What about you?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Yes, again.
Thank you for inviting me here. Well, my name is Erda, so I'm glad to be here today. It's been a long time since I've not been here. I've not seen a student from my former university, since I'm a former student of the Trump University, and I was invited by the director of this university so as to maybe write an article on what happened during that weekend and investigate a bit also. But don't worry, I will be quiet.
No, he won't. Actually, on the contrary, Emmerdeur will definitely not be quiet. He will be an emmerdeur. He'll be a pain in the ass. And so love that. And they did such a good job with this sequence. And so in this video, again, my students have given me full permission to share it with you. You can watch it too, and you can even show it to your students if you want. You can watch it. There are 3 meetings, by the way. So there are 3 groups. It's a 30-minute meeting. But so what you just saw is the beginning of a 30-minute meeting, and then we stop, and then we switch, and then another group comes on, different students, then another group comes on. So there are 3 meetings on the same topic in an hour-and-a-half sequence. Okay, and so that's what's happening, and that's what you see. And I am silent, and what I'm doing is feverishly listening to them and giving them points every single time they use the phrase. And then it's an Excel sheet that I set up, and it's like, but you just drink a cup of coffee and get it done. Okay, that is the second activity, and I will give you in my handout. I will give you the role, the incident description, and I will give you the roles, the roles descriptions for each person. There are 5 descriptions, and I will share that with you after today. So that way you can, it's literally one of those things where either you plan, you're totally overwhelmed, you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do in class tomorrow? You can be just like, here, boom, 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 boom. Or you can formalize it and make it an assessment tool, I make it an oral assessed task, because trust me, I'm getting tired of presentations. I don't know about you, but I'm getting really tired of watching presentations. So this was a way for me to just kind of get away from that. So here is the example number 3, the third example. We got 9 minutes left. And this is actually an activity that my dear colleague, Melania Bergelis, designed. Now, y'all need to reach out to Mel for a webinar, because she can come up with some really cool ideas. And I love this, and she's also a colleague of mine at Télécom Paris, okay? So her office is 2 doors down, and compared to Sinead, who's right next door. And she designed a humanitarian crisis convention activity. Now, I use this in my classroom, in various classes, okay, to teach intercultural communication skills, bearing in mind, of course, that I have students in my class who come from countries, 40% of our students are international. So some of our students are actually coming from countries that are currently in the midst of having a humanitarian crisis. And I am fully aware of what's going on right now in Eastern Europe, and I am fully aware of what's going on in some of the countries where my students are coming from. And so this activity, I want to just say a little disclaimer is what I usually do when I introduce this activity with my students, as I say, okay, guys, we're going to do what's called a humanitarian crisis. You may have seen that on the program. Look, if there's anybody here who has any concerns or any kind of what I'm trying to say to them is like, do they have any kind of post-traumatic stress issues that I need to know about or anything of the sort? I very carefully navigate on whether or not to decide to use this activity. So fortunately, even with my students who are coming from Libya, Tunisia, Algeria, they're okay with me using this activity in the classroom. And I've been very impressed with their resilience, because some of the issues that we address in this activity are issues that they themselves have direct experience living with. But let me tell you, they become the asset in the classroom because they have that experience. And the other students, the French students, who are kind of coming from their really comfortable middle class environment, they really benefit from hearing from the experience of the international students with this activity. So there's a lot to give you. I don't have time to explain how I set it up, but of course I will provide everything you need. Here's what it looks like visualized. Is there are Jubilife refugees. It's all based on Pokemon, by the way. This is what Mel did. Mel designed it all over Pokemon. So there's the Jubilife refugees, there's locals, there's the NGO representatives, there's the government officials, there's military police, there's the Saffron refugees, and there is a judge who listens and asks questions. And everybody has to present their arguments, their cases. They have to say why they are suffering or why they need help. And the judge is there to try to mediate and to come up with possible solutions that as many people as possible can agree with, which is not easy. Here, this is what it looks like on the handout. It's a two-step process. There's a brainstorming group where the students are in small groups. They're brainstorming arguments. I usually put 2 students for each group. If I have a big class or if I have a small class, then it's obviously 1 role per student. It really works great with huge classes. Let me tell you, big classes, it's great with like a class of 25 students. It's wonderful. And if you've got a big class or 30 students, the bigger, the better. It actually works. This is one of those activities where the bigger the class, the better it works, okay? And the smaller the class, the kind of goes, okay? So that's why I like it, because I have to deal with sometimes huge classrooms as well. And then there's the crisis convention, and they all have to listen to each other, and they all have to present arguments. And then the judges have to, encourage debate among the groups and provide recommendations. And it's all very organized and very cordial, but sometimes the students have a little bit of fun. So here's my closing arguments, or my closing arguments. Listen to me, God. My last word, my last 2 slides about engagement online. Maybe you have found this is the case, but what I love about teaching online, love it, love it, love it, is that I'm available instantaneously. So the students can engage with me instantly in the private chat on Zoom, for instance, or I don't know if you're using Teams. God, I hate Teams, but love Zoom because the student can send me a private message and they can tell me if they're concerned or whatever about anything. I can give the students instant feedback in a private message, right? Not everybody is going to be reading it. It's great, and I'm not going to interrupt the flow. So we're much more efficient online, I'm finding. There's a lot more privacy in a breakout room compared to in a face-to-face format. So we can do a breakout room and nobody can hear each other. And that's great. I love that. And my students love that. Broader skill development in meetings, easy to record. We can record the sessions. Like, look, I recorded the session and shared it with you, and I can record the sessions and share it with my colleagues. How cool is that? And how cool is that I can invite people? I mean, you can invite I've had my parents come to my classes. My parents are in the States, and my parents come and watch my classes. So if your engagement classroom ticks these boxes, then that's super. That's really, really super. And I really hope you have fun trying out any of the activities that I've shared. So here's my last slide. I'm inviting you, if you want, to attend any of my classes because it's so easy to do that. Oh my God. And so fire me off an email. If you see, this is all Central European time. If you all want to hang out, come and watch any of these classes. Now, my public speaking class doesn't start until next month, but we'll deal with that. But my my Wednesday evening class or my Thursday morning classes, like seriously, I love being observed, and I love sharing, and I just love having guests, and I love the fact that the online context allows us to do that. So you are more than welcome to come join us and watch one of my classes and watch my students in action. Okay, we'll make it happen. So I really hope you come to Belfast. That'll be great if you can come to IATEFL Belfast. Honestly, thank you very much for inviting me. This has been fantastic. Dziękuję bardzo.
Thank you for being with us. That has been excellent as usual. Your speed is so fast that for me it's unthinkable.
Sorry.
I feel as if I were an old elephant in comparison to you.
I really want to get back into the classroom, though. I really, really miss it. But I just love it. I love it so much. So thank you. But if anybody has got any questions or whatever, I'll stick around if you want for a little bit, and I can answer any questions if anybody has any concerns or questions or whatever. Okay.
Everybody is very thankful to you. See the chat box, how many thanks you have received.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. And hope maybe see you in one of my classes, and I would love to come to one of yours. Okay, so fire me off an email, even if one of your classes, if you're teaching during one of my classes, if you're busy, that's fine. But if you guys, any of you are teaching online still, I would love to attend and watch one of your classes. My God, let's take advantage of the opportunity. Seriously, would love that. Okay.
That's an excellent idea. I like it. I think we will all think about it for having such a friendly person. Yes, normally during our classes we are visited by inspectors.
No, I mean, come on. So like really, let's have a little fun. And if you ever, if you want me to come stop by or whatever, or even try to do one of the activities that we talked about today, like actually try to set it up or something if you're apprehensive about anything and if you need some assistance. God, I mean, it's cheaper than a plane ticket. So, invite me to your classroom. I can do Teams, I can do Zoom, I can do all sorts of other learning management systems. So
wow.
Oh, it works. I mean, I'll if I'm free, if I'm available, I'll do it, because let's take advantage of the opportunity. So, okay. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Don't disappear from our horizon. That is my final wish during this webinar. Yes, just remain with us, and I will catch you sooner or later. And
Sure.
Don't forget about that friend of yours, Melania, that you mentioned.
Absolutely. Contact
her with me, and I will be more than happy to have her in our webinar series.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. She's brilliant. Like she designs stuff. She's got an anthropological background, and she's an English teacher. God, she's so cool. So because she brings anthropology into her English classroom context. How cool is that? That makes me feel like an idiot. But I just love talking to her. I'm going to walk with her in the woods on Sunday. I can't wait. And it's so refreshing.
Say hello from us.
I will. I'll convince her.
We are ready to be inspired by her. Yes?
I will. I'll convince her on Sunday.
As well. Yes, because today we've been inspired by you, and we are ready to be inspired by her as well. Thank you so much.
You're going to love Sinead on Wednesday. She's fantastic. Okay.
Okay, so let's wave goodbye. Time to say goodbye.
Do zobaczenia.
Do zobaczenia. I'm stopping the recording.